welcome to In the Wall with me, Parker Kligerman. This is the show all about you. Use hashtag In the Wall to write in on Twitter, Instagram, or in the comments below on YouTube. We want to hear from you and get you on this show. It's all about motorsports. That's what we're talking about here. Speaking of which, we're going to go to the biggest news possibly in the motorsports world this century. Because if you're watching this show, you'll most likely have heard the groundbreaking news that Roger Penske bought the world's most important racetrack, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and in the process got the entire IndyCar Series too. A nice 2-for-1. This will be a jolt for the traditionalists who feel the Speedway belongs in the hands of a native Hoosier. To others, it's a final admittance that the Hallman-George family has taken this American institution as far as they possibly can. Whatever way you view this, though, there is one part that sticks out to me. In 1951, a 14-year-old boy from Ohio was brought to Indianapolis for the first time. He fell in love with auto racing, the Indy 500, and the track. He, in his 20s, would do a bit of racing himself, but in 1963, he would turn down a chance to test at the very racetrack that made him fall in love with the sport. Take note of this. It was for business reasons. A rookie by the name of Mario Andretti would take that test. Ever heard of him? Yeah, he's pretty much a legend. And then, at just 28 years old, he would retire from the driving portion of his life, which would allow him to lay the groundwork for what would become the greatest team in American motor racing. If you didn't already know, that kid from Ohio is Roger Penske. And his race teams, as of this show, have amassed 36 national championships, 545 race victories, including the record 18 Indianapolis 500 wins, and 622 poles, which I bring up poles because I got one of those. Yeah, it's a bit of a humble brag. But what's shocking about all those numbers is that Roger has been linked to almost every important moment in the modern era of the Speedway's history, which is incredible. But let's step outside of racing for a moment and think about all the kids who fall in love with a football team but will never actually truly own it. Kids who aspire to do all sorts of dreams and fail. Yet here's a man who fell in love with a sport and found a way to eventually own the whole damn thing. That is the American dream. So what does this mean? All you have to do is look at the history, the impact, the amount of things that Team Penske have ushered into the sport to know this should put NASCAR, which will now own Daytona International Speedway, the Circuit of the Americas, and SMI, which owns Bristol Motor Speedway, on notice. Roger Penske doesn't mess around, especially with something as personally important to him as Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I cannot imagine what examples he's going to set for the entire racing world. Watch that 2.5-mile stretch of pavement closely, because I assure you the entire racing world will be too. If you agree, let me know in the comments below. If you disagree, I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments below. All I know is, and then there's this. Time to go into our mailbag, which, you know, that's the point of the show, using hashtag In the Wall. You write into the show on Twitter or Instagram or in the comments on YouTube. And we start with a familiar name, the voice of the peak iRacing series, Evan Pasoko. He asked, what's the first IndyCar/IMS long talked about idea? Lights at IMS, NASCAR doubleheader, etc., if any, that happens with Penske at the helm now, using hashtag In the Wall. Well, Evan, I love this question, and I think everything is open. That is the thing. We have seen track promoters get very innovative as of late, but I think there's none more innovative in the racing world than Roger Penske. So stand back and watch, because I think everything is on the table in that sense. Also out there in the Twitterverse, Wraith Dog. Here's a thought for hashtag In the Wall. Outside of Dempsey, what actors would make great racers? You know, that's interesting. Who would make a great racer? Rutledge Wood always tells me he's a great racer, but he's not an actor, so that doesn't count. Kyle Petty could be a great actor, but he was also a great racer. You know what? I'm thinking maybe Matt Damon, Christian Bale. I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk about those later. All right. Another one that came to us, and this is interesting. Oh my gosh, it's Dave Despain. Well, in the flesh, not just in bobblehead form. He said, a longtime car owner once told me, this sport is 10 times better than when I started. I asked how so? Well, back then, we raced $5,000 motors for $500 to win. Now we race $50,000 motors for $5,000 to win. So it's simple math, hashtag In the Wall. I can't believe it. Dave, that was impressive, man. Great joke. I mean, it makes total sense. I mean, who knew? Bobblehead can write too. You know what? This show is so big, we've got a second, and then there's this. Right, so I may have mentioned Matt Damon and Christian Bale for a reason. There they are. Ford versus Ferrari is officially out in theaters Friday, November 15th. And you know what would be really cool is like if we could talk to them about this awesome racing movie between these two manufacturers who had that titanic battle. I mean, two of the biggest movie stars in the world. There's no chance that they would come on our little YouTube motorsports show, right? Wait, hold on. We have a West Coast correspondent, Aiden, and he actually got to talk to them about this movie for #InTheWall the show. So we start with their reaction of why did they even do this movie in the first place?
Hell of a script. Really, really good script that the Butterworths had done. I read it first back in 2011. Took a long time for this film to get made. At that time, it was more of an ensemble piece, and then Jim, when he came on board, he narrowed it down to more about Shelby and Miles.
I certainly didn't know about the friendship between these two guys.
We just found this kind of perfect storm of a moment where this big film could get made without any promise of any sequels and without any superheroes in it, and that's unusual now.
Right, so I learned Christian Bale has an accent. Shocked. I don't know. Guess I didn't pay attention. And also didn't know that. I like how these two were really passionate about the movie. They really wanted to make this, and I like the little dig maybe at some of the superhero, tons and tons of sequels out there that we're seeing. Next, we were able to ask them about their experience at Indy 500 when they joined us there and had quite a time. Listen to Matt Damon talk about this.
That was crazy. Yeah, I didn't understand the scale of it. I mean, I've seen it on TV, but when they say there's 500,000 people there, when you really see that, like standing up when we got to wave the green flag and looking out at that, it's just like beggars the imagination how big it is and how many people are there. And got to go around the track with Mario Andretti.
I didn't. I don't like being a passenger. I did. I mean, it sounds silly. It was an opportunity I gave up, but I hate being a passenger.
I just loved it, man. He's coming up on the wall, like we're an inch off the wall. We're going 200 miles an hour. It was pretty great. And then to understand that, and I talked to him afterwards, and he said it's really the only way to get people to understand what this sport is, like to really experience that. Because then you see these guys going 50 miles an hour faster, and there's, they're an inch away from each other, and they're all going that fast. It's pretty incredible.
I love Matt Damon's appreciation for race car drivers there. Also, Christian Bale, don't feel too bad. Jimmy Johnson has admitted getting car sick when he's driven around. So you're in good company there. Now, we got into the really important questions next. This is where we basically said, hey, if you're a race car driver, what stickers would be on your car?
Mine would have all my kids' stuff, because I don't get a say-so in any of that kind of stuff. They would be whatever they want to put on there.
Be like the kids' drawings.
Yes,
fluttering.
It would actually be all my kids' drawings all over it. Yeah, and whatever they decided. You weren't happy with that answer.
He's like, nah, I hate that answer.
They're going to cut that.
No, we're definitely not cutting that. Sorry, bud. You're here on In the Wall. We don't really take commercials, nor do we have any ability of cutting you out there. So we're keeping it, bud, even though that was not quite the answer we're looking for. We wanted sponsors. Who'd you want on the car? Well, speaking of cars, next we got into what would have been their dream car. What has always been their dream car?
Mine was always motorcycles. I always dreamed about just getting on a motorcycle and going, and I loved that. I mean, I would play games, I remember, because I would see the Le Mans cars. I would go along to, I'd watch Formula One with my dad all the time. Got to go to Brands Hatch one time, which was just fantastic. It was Alan Prost and Senna and Niki Lauda at that time, and I would play this game. I'd say to my dad, well, look, if I walk this fast across the road, would the Le Mans car run me over? And he'd be like, no, you'd be dead, son, you'd be dead. So that always fascinated me, but my dreams were motorcycles.
When we sold Goodwill Hunting, Ben and I immediately both bought Jeep Grand Cherokees. That was our dream car, and we each bought one. We had his and his Grand Cherokees.
How long did that last for?
I had it through the whole lease period, which would have been, so I guess I leased it, so it would have probably had it for 3 years.
Right.
Loved that car.
What? That's a dream car? Here's what we learned about Matt Damon. Didn't have much ambition at that time looking for a Jeep Grand Cherokee. You know what, though? How can you hate a Jeep Grand Cherokee? They're so dependable. They just get things done. Next, we got into would they prefer F1, You know, the winding tracks there, or NASCAR and ovals?
Well, growing up in England, I wasn't really familiar with NASCAR. You know, around the rest of the world, Formula One is absolute king. Growing up with Formula One, it's winding tracks, you know, always. No, I mean, that's just my lack of knowledge about the ovals. But you know, yeah, I just naturally find the winding tracks.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it seems like there's a lot more happening.
Right.
You know.
Then again, there's many NASCAR drivers right now.
Who are like,
would you like to come sit in the car with us right now and then tell us that afterwards?
I was really liking you, Christian, until that point, right there. Yeah, it's a little more difficult than it looks, guys. I just hit a wall a couple weeks ago at like 185 miles an hour. My head still hurts. Yeah, it's not just going in circles. Gosh. Well, you know what? I can't wait to see that movie. Thanks to those guys for joining the show, and our West Coast correspondent, Aidan McLeod, who also caught up with another famous person I guess was out there.
Ask me his name again.
Parker Kligerman.
I know that guy. He's dead to me. That name means nothing to me. His mom doesn't know his name. He's that unknowable. He has school teachers who have no idea what his name is. His counselor in junior high called him what's his nose. If something happened to that piece of paper, he'd vanish. Not noble. And I know every driver on the NASCAR circuit. All of them. Every one. All committed to memory. But that dude, never heard of him.
Wow, Jimmy Kimmel's a real jerk. Anyway, use hashtag #InTheWall or hit me directly on Twitter, Instagram, @PKligerman. Be a part of this show. Please write comments below. And remember, subscribe to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube channel and check out NBCSports.com for more motorsports content. Thanks for watching. I'm off to Phoenix. I don't like you, Jimmy Kimmel.
Hey Motorsports fans, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe before you go for all the latest news and highlights across motorsports.